room today. So pedaling all day uphill can also be ending with a decent downhill with all the air towards yourself, or either you can simply trail ride on cross country through the dirt hills in your neighborhood or on those trails, which is quite frankly hard to choose because I'm trying to choose between cross country or either trail riding. I kind of want to do both, but I'm not so sure. So we're gonna break down the bikes and the other opinions that I have in this video about mountain biking. And if you're new here, I'm Reagan from ReaganVFilms Tech, and today I'm on a ShredMTB, and we're gonna be talking about mountain biking stuff. These bike differences are not so well, but I'm just gonna do it with what I have. So for cross-country mountain bikes, the difference is that it's more rigid with carbon fiber and steel, and for the trail mountain bikes, it's mostly I know that there's carbon fiber, like some carbon fiber ones, but I know that there are some steel ones, and then they have a full suspension. So they run on full suspension travel to absorb all of those rocks and shakiness that you would see in the way. And with cross country mountain bikes, there's also basically a hardtail. Yeah, it's basically a hardtail with no suspension travel available unless you do. So there's like a small bit of suspension on the bike, is what I know for cross country. It's more like hardtail, so you would have to actually stand up in order to pedal up. But then for trail bikes, it's mostly meant for like downhill. It's mostly meant for downhill, not for uphill. While for cross country mountain bikes, basically it's both for downhill and uphill. So the pedal power is usually generated from the rear wheel in order to move upwards, which is what I really actually know because my bike is a hardtail. With the forks on the trail bikes, it's much more heavier. So it's around like 34 to 36 millimeters of stiffness with the steering protection, or precision, not protection, but the steering basically with the handlebar you're able to like move it back and forth. This is from my understanding because I'm kind of new to mountain biking, so you probably are new too. Correct us if we're wrong, pro mountain biking, right? Mountain bike riders or something like that. But the fork is much more heavier, 34 to 36 millimeters. I think that's like heights. I don't really know, but that's the stiffness. And then the steering precision is towards the fork too, because that controls the front wheel, and it runs off of disc brakes. This reason of it being off of disc brakes is mostly because you get more travel even when you ride in the snow. I know near Missouri there's tons of snow right there, I know, from 1 MTB so far. So with that, basically with disc brakes, it's more traction on it. It runs off of pressure, sometimes water. But then for the hardtail ones, I know that some of them have actually the disc brakes, but then the rest they don't actually have the disc brakes on the cross country mountain bike. It's mostly like friction brakes. I'm just gonna say that friction brakes. So with those friction brakes, it basically goes like in between the wheel, and when you're ready to slow down, it compresses each other. So I've actually rode in the. I didn't record this, but I rode in the rain around my neighborhood. Well, not really my neighborhood, but like quite far away, and it lost traction. I gotta say the disc brakes are much more better. And then if you actually use the friction brakes, you actually have to extend your whole finger out, not just like a single tap that you usually have for those disc brakes. The trail bikes are much more shorter than the actual cross country category. If you had never ever known about that, and the trail bikes also chew up more and manage more of the terrain. And you do have to pick a line when you go downhill. If you're new to this, I kind of knew about this, but not really. But yeah, with the trail bikes or cross any mountain bike, you would basically need to have is like basically like find your line. It's like that you're in a number line, but instead you're finding a line that's kind of jagged. It's not really that straight. And these are my other opinions on these related things. That while being on the trail, you can actually have more fun when you hit the berms on the trails, which I really gotta say. And then you also do get some jumps. While for cross country, it's like it's kind of lame, but not really so lame. Like actually, kind of like the tiny technical bits where it's just really what is it? Where it's really just rocks and just basically just rocks, and then there's like big like it's what is it called? The rock garden. There we go. The rock garden. Yeah, I gotta say that's what would usually make cross country fun. But if there are jumps or like drops, I would have to say I would have to go to trail mountain bikes because I actually like hitting those berms and leaning a whole lot. And those berms would be fun after learning them, hopefully anytime soon. I'm actually hoping to learn surfing soon. Cross country riding would also allow us to have fun on the dirt trails and some rocks, just like what I said. Cross country would also include the uphills. So on the trail bikes, or there's like a new park that's being built right now by. Anyways, with the cross country and trail, you both have to ride uphill. However, for the trail bikes, it's usually like if you're near a park, then you can just ride uphill most of the time, unless you got a driver or like a taxi. Not really a taxi, but like a shuttle. Yeah, a shuttle, and then you can just take it that way. But for cross country, it's mostly like the more intense type of uphills, especially in Moab, Utah. I think I remember my friend saying that there are tons of. I prefer actually riding both, mainly because for the trail bikes or like full suspension bikes or trail those like those trail areas that's like at Whistler or these other spots in the U.S. or all around worldwide. I actually want to hit those berms and jumps. While for cross country mountain biking, or I'm generally at around SoCal, if you know MTB Allen or Allen MTB. That's usually what happens around my area. It's basically just like chill areas with just a tiny bit of technicality onto those bike trails. But I would really want to actually go downhill biking and hit those berms and actually jump on those like 15 foot like 5 to 15 feet jumps. I gotta say, and probably do a tail whip. I'll have to learn that very very soon. But that's the reason why I actually prefer riding both. So go ahead and answer the question of the day on this video. Would you go cross country? Would you go both? Or would you go trail mountain biking or mountain or downhill biking? Go ahead with that. I'm gonna make more content on here on ShredMTB anytime soon and other channels. If you don't know me, I'm Reagan from ReaganVFilms Tech, and I'm here on ShredMTB. Now shred it on the trails.